Modern art is CIA propaganda. Was Jackson Pollock a Fed? I will show the fact that I live under a rock and ask who? I have no idea who that is.
In a turn of events that absolutely nobody saw coming, I think I like modern art now.
I like modern art now. Nice intro.
Today we're talking about modern art and the historically supported objective fact that the CIA used it as a psychological operation to defeat communism. That's not a joke. Just so we're on the same page, I keep saying modern art, and I'm going to keep saying modern art, but more specifically, I'm talking about abstract expressionism, which is a subcategory of modern art. So for this, think of it as like the Jackson Pollock type stuff. You know, the stuff you look at and you're like, wow, that's worth $200 million, and I'm pretty sure my 3-year-old could do it.
Heck, it's not wrong. I'm gonna be honest, chat, he's not wrong. I'm like, yeah, I think my cousin could do that. I cannot appreciate this type of art. I just look at it, I'm like, I don't get it.
That type of art. And to be completely honest with you, I had every intention of this just being an 8 to 10 minute video of me talking smack about modern art and how dumb I think it is. And over the course of researching for this video, I have had a complete 180 change of heart. Not only do I think that modern art is pretty cool now,
I like how his hatred for communism got him to like the modern art. The man has his priorities, right? Oh, some abstract artist shit, but this game makes really cool stuff. Yeah, like, I'm not, as I said, I'm not yucking anyone's yum, right? Like, I don't get it personally, but that doesn't mean that it's not nice for someone. Just for me, it doesn't look like anything. I just look at it and I'm like, but why?
I was so compelled that I went out and bought my own piece of modern art. That's how great this story actually is. And we're gonna get
Is that for a tax write-off that he showed it? I'm sorry, ever since he made that video, anything he freaking puts in his video, I'm like, that's tax write-off, right?
into it right after a word from our sponsors. This video is brought to you by Zaka Life Go Balm. It is a full spectrum hemp oil recovery balm that you can put on any type of athletic injury, and it's going to work better than any other type of ointment that you've ever tried. I've been using it for over a year, and whether it's old chronic injuries flaring up again or new and exciting injuries, this stuff helps either way. They're a small business based right here out of America. All their products are made here. So if you want to check them out, I'll have a link in the description down below. Let's get back to the video. All right, let's just take it from the top. World War II ends. The Cold War pretty much immediately starts, right? We split Germany right down the middle. We've got East Side versus West Side, just like Biggie and Tupac. But instead of rappers, we have communism versus capitalism. They are going to be competing at literally
instead of rappers. Oh my god.
Everything under the sun. Okay, most people think about Cold War and it's like, who has the best weapons? Who has more nuclear bombs? That's true, but there's also the culture war. America and the Soviet Union are competing against one another at absolutely everything possible. This is why we have awesome movies like Miracle, because America needs to beat the Soviet Union at hockey, and we need to win the most Olympic medals, and we have to have the best art and the best music and the best economy. It is a cultural war on everything. Now, some of these cultural battlefields are going to be way tougher than others. For example,
honestly, some of those I gotta beat you and be better than you got to really ridiculous levels.
Olympics is going to be unbelievably tough because the USSR is just going to go in and give all their athletes funding, and it's going to be their full-time job to train to be an Olympic athlete 30 hours a day. On battlefields like this, there's not a lot the American government can do to ensure victory other than sit back, cross their fingers, and hope to God a genetic freak of nature like Danny Gable wanders out of a cornfield and wins Olympic gold at wrestling without giving up a single point. So in things like sports, it's just going to be what it's going to be. It's a good old-fashioned shootout, but on other battlegrounds that have a less defined rule set, America's gonna cheat its ass off every way it can.
Goddamn right.
And two of these extremely
I like is like, they're gonna cheat their ass off. Approved. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I think like anyone would if they could get away with it. Let's be real.
Important yet undefined battlegrounds are art and music, and America doesn't want to go toe-to-toe with the Soviets in, say, music on a category like classical music because, well, the Soviets are going to do the same thing they do with their Olympic teams. They're going to take a 1-year-old that can barely walk, shove a violin in their hands, and make them play it 18 hours a day till they become the best violinists on earth by the time they're 7. And the American—
Why don't Americans do that? Like, my naive self is kind of like, isn't that how you are supposed to do that? Like, I'm like, eh?
government basically has a strategy of like, yeah, no thank you. We're just going to take something the Soviets don't have and make it extremely popular, and that way we win automatically.
Oh my god, popularity contest. Oh my god. Is that why we have the world record for all the stupid, dumb, weird shit in existence? And we have, like, the Guinness record for whoever farted the most in 1 hour. I don't know if that's an actual thing, but, like, is that why? Oh.
So the government, by way of the CIA, takes a bunch of money and funnels it into the jazz industry. They take the best artists like Louis Armstrong and send him on global tours all around Europe and every other country they can get into, showing off this new style of music and making it popular across the globe.
Because the American child could choose to not be enslaved to their talent.
Because they ain't.
I don't know. And Pesticus, have you seen your Miss candidates and how miserable those children are and how they're forced by their parents to like put up with all the training things that they don't want to do? Like, I would say a lot of people are still pretty much kind of like forced to do whatever their parent told them to. And the parents may force them, the government can't. No, but you can literally pay a parent to raise their child that way. That's why I'm like, why can't you just do that? Can you imagine you have like a poor family that has like a child? Then you're like, hey, we're offering you a fuck ton of money. We're giving you a house. All you gotta do is like have your child do that. That's why I'm confused. Like, why don't they? Or just find a child that's like, I don't know, hold auditions for there are kids that like doing stuff.
And it's something that the Soviets just aren't going to be able to compete with. And jazz ends up inspiring rock and roll. And then rock and roll ends up inspiring metal. And next thing you know, it's 1991 and Metallica is having a concert in the USSR with 1.6 million people in attendance. And 3 months later, the USSR falls. Coincidence? I think not. And they...
I think not. Bruh! Jesus Christ, how did we go from one thing to another in Metallica? Holy shit. Oh, we're only good at ruining our kids, not making something great out of them. Oh my god, that sounds so bad. That sounds so fucked up, man. Every parent ever is kind of like afraid of ruining their kids.
They had the same exact strategy with art, okay? What are the Soviets good at? They're good at the traditional stuff, that old school realism, okay? Which, let's be honest, kind of not super needed anymore ever since we invented fucking cameras. So the American government is like, well, what do we have that's different? Let's back that. We are gonna back modern art, which is abstract expressionism, where it's literally just art for the sake of art. That's literally the definition of abstract expressionism. It's just doing it because you want to do it, because you're expressing yourself through some medium in some fashion, and that's where you get things like Jackson Pollock paintings. He's just expressing himself. Now, that
you know, it always confuses the heck out of me when people are like, abstract art is just expressing yourself. And I'm like, isn't the other art the same? You're just expressing yourself. Oh man. So some of these quote unquote definitions, I'm just like, yeah.
That doesn't sound like that big of a deal. However, it is a humongous deal because that's exactly the type of thing that you can't do over in the Soviet Union, pursuing a passion project to make a living. Now, can you be...
I'm sorry, I will read a line from chat. My cat can express himself in the middle of the night with a hair pull. Yeah, same. Actually, my cat chooses to express herself in the middle of a night with a nice puking sound in the balcony.
An artist?
Cats.
Absolutely. You could be an artist in the
Perfect.
Soviet Union and get by just fine, provided that you're exclusively willing to paint hyper-realistic pictures of our glorious leader. And if you get bored with that, you're probably allowed to paint some pictures of our astronauts not landing on the moon first. Or maybe...
Oh my god, he's savage!
If you get really bored, you could paint some muscle mommy holding a shovel, or maybe a bunch of workers returning home from the fields, but they all better have fucking smiles on their faces. So that's the angle that the US government's gonna take. They're gonna show off modern art, because modern art is nothing other than art for the sake of art. It is a symbol of freedom. It's not this tired-ass stuff the Soviets are doing, this take a picture of me, but do it with paint nonsense. All their artists over there with their techniques and their well-refined skills. No, this is America. We're gonna throw shit at the wall, and we're gonna win anyways. I mean, paint at the canvas. We're gonna throw paint at the canvas, and we're gonna win anyways.
How do you know when you're done with a painting?
How do you know when you're done making love?
Oh, when you wash your penis in the sink and go to bed.
If we can't...
Oh my god. I forgot about that. I forgot about that reply, man. I need to watch it again. Glorious.
Dazzle them with our intellect, we're gonna baffle them with our bullshit. So that's the official plan of the US government. All we have to do is make this shit popular somehow.
I like it look yes. I am not cultured enough to be able to like understand what the heck people see in that. To me, it looks like a wannabe street the overview of a city and that someone barfed on and had mayo and stuff thrown around. I don't understand it, but it's cool. I see. Yeah, I just look at it and I'm like, it reminds me of those things where they told you to take ink and put it on paper and see kind of like whatever form takes hold of it. Like you just splosh it onto paper and then they ask you in tests they would ask you like what do you see, right? But like you could do it as a child and then kind of like just paint over the ink and see whatever you saw in the ink you'd paint it. It kind of reminds me of that a bit.
How are they gonna do it? That's easy. Copious amounts of taxpayer money. So that's what the US government does. Right after World War II, 1946-ish, they just start pumping money into modern art, trying to get it.
See, this is the part that I don't understand. They're not willing to train someone to be good at it and educate people to be good at it, but they throw money to media and marketing. Rorschach test, yeah, that one. Thank you. I forgot the word for it. Like, what is that? Why?
As many eyes on it as humanly possible and making it seem as cool as possible. And it was not well received pretty much by anybody. Even the art community was divided. Half the art community hated this stuff, okay? They felt like it undermined the rest of art, which makes sense, right? You spent your whole life developing this skill set, you make beautiful
Understandable.
paintings, and then out of nowhere, here comes this Jackson Pollock guy in his drip phase, and he's just fucking overhanding paint at a canvas, not even bothering to pick the dead flies up out of it, and all of a sudden he's more famous than you are. It's absurd. And that's just a criticism.
Bruh. Oh my god, it's like not even bothering to pick up the flies. No, you're part of my painting now. Ribbit.
They're getting from their own community. Once the church-going, more conservative crowd gets a hold of this shit, they lose their mind.
I mean, Daedric, in regards to what you're saying about like a guy making portraits of people with his penis as a brush, I would be shocked and surprised if I didn't know there's a blog of a guy that uses his penis to make like Christmas cards for people. And at one point he used his butt to sign the card. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think I can be shocked anymore at what people do with their private parts.
They fucking hate it.
One of the many tools of the devil.
Because you gotta realize from this like church-going conservative viewpoint, the majority of artists, generally speaking, have always been more left-leaning, which is completely fine. But in this instance, the majority of these abstract expressionist artists that are blowing up are like borderline communist sympathizers, or some of them are even self-proclaimed communists. I mean, Jackson Pollock worked on a May Day float depicting the workers overthrowing Wall Street. Like, they have some pretty controversial political opinions. So, from the perspective of this church-going conservative, it is literally a bunch of commies trying to destroy art. And they're using our tax dollars to do it. We can't allow this to happen. It's a slippery slope. First you let them call this art, then they're gonna be having concerts called Woodstock and putting flowers in their hair and smoking weed and having unprotected sex.
Wow.
Forrest Gump's girlfriend's gonna get AIDS. It's gonna ruin the entire world. Okay, to be fair, they weren't actually worried about Jenny, but there was a bunch of conspiracy theories going on. And one of the biggest ones was that because a lot of the artists doing this type of art were communist sympathizers, is that this weird abstract art form was some way for them to convey secret messages back to the Soviet Union. Maybe these were like maps of secret US military installations and they were all spies gathering intel, and this is how they shared it back to the USSR. Absolutely no merit to it whatsoever, but those were the types of things that people were saying. So due to the pretty violent backlash from all directions, the US government has to abandon this project and quit putting money into it almost immediately.
That is insane. That is insane. I like the backlash. It's like, what the heck?
So now the US government is in this situation where they have something that they want to do, but literally none of their constituents want them to do it. So clearly, they're not gonna do it. The video's over. That's it. The end. I'm kidding. Obviously, they're gonna use the CIA and do it anyways and then just not tell anybody about it, because that's just how the government gets.
That is even crazier, man. Like, they use the money instead of like just training people because that takes time and they wanted results now, they used the money, they got the backlash, and then they just went behind people's backs as per usual and be like,
it's down, apparently. So
that's like, what the heck? Off topic, pause. I like the new fall sticker you got. It looks cool. Thank you. We got some new fall merch. Like, exclamation mark merch if you want to see it. If you're on YouTube, it's gonna be in the description, like the merch site. But yeah, we got some new super cute chibis with me at a festival and a witch version of Pause, which is very, very cute. So do check it out.
in 1950, the CIA helps fund and set up this new organization called the CCF, the Congress for Cultural Freedom. And this isn't just for art. This is going to be a gigantic shell corporation that the government pumps money into to attack everything communist in culture. This is going to be an anti-communist propaganda-making machine. At its peak, the CCF operated in over 35 different countries. They owned and published over 30 different magazines. They owned entire news outlets. They're promoting anti-communist books, music, art, intellectuals, anything they can do to fight the communist ideology, they're doing, and they're funneling it all through the CCF. And this was deemed so successful overall that the CIA website actually says, and I quote, "The Congress for Cultural Freedom is widely considered one of the CIA's most daring and effective Cold War covert operations." So the CCF is huge, but we're focusing on art, and art has a unique
They literally called it one of the most effective methods as well. That is insane how they went from like one thing to it backfiring to turning it into like a complete global scale operation with so many branches and things.
unique issue in that modern art is already deemed super controversial, so they don't want the CCF to come out and support it directly, so they have to figure out a way to support it indirectly. So the CIA goes out and they're like, okay, well, we're going to get all these art foundations that already exist to work with us. Unfortunately, most of them didn't want to work with the CIA because it's, well, A, they're a bureaucratic nightmare, and B, most of them didn't like modern art. So at this point, the CIA is like, fuck it, we'll just make our own art foundations.
Most of them didn't like modern art. Oh man.
So they go and they approach like a bunch of super wealthy people in New York City, and they're like, hey, start up an art foundation. We'll do all the work. We'll do all the paperwork. We're just going to funnel a bunch of money and art through this foundation.
I like Daedric's comment. Imagine they were doing something like this right now. That would be crazy. Yeah, totally crazy if they did something like this. They are doing stuff like this even now. Like, bruh, the US marketing is scary AF. Like, US's level of control over social media and marketing is frightening. Like, extreme level of frightening. It's like, this would be child's play as to what they're doing now.
Foundation, I'm sure you'll end up getting like tax write-offs or something.
But yeah, I'm sure they're not doing anything. Totally not. Yeah, no, it would be crazy. Crazy. Anyway.
It's gonna funnel a bunch of money and art through this foundation. I'm sure you'll end up getting like tax write-offs or something. So all the rich people are like, dope, absolutely, go ahead. And they do this like 50 times. They amass a gigantic network of phony art foundations where they use that to just funnel money directly into modern art. Okay, they're funding the artists, they're giving away rewards, they're buying the artwork, they're donating it. Then they go to the museums and they get the museums in on it. Now the museums are going to be disproportionately showing modern art more than anything else, inflating its popularity. But
wait, I gotta go back. Look at this lady. Look at this lady, chat. This one right here, okay? Look at her.
Showing modern
Look at her
art more than
face.
anything else.
She's just like, they're watching me. Shit, I gotta stay there like 2 more seconds while they look away. I wanted to go away, but they're like rolling the camera. Fuck, I can't go away. But man, it's hideous. Oh man, what do I do? That's me right there.
Else inflating its popularity, but that's not where it's
just smile and wave.
The CCF can get involved. Now that it's like 2 to 3 degrees removed, we're going to bring the CCF in with their 20 magazines and their news outlets, and we're going to have the magazines start publishing articles about all these modern artists and how great all this art is. And then, if any art critics want to have their opinions published in any of these 20 magazines or covered by the news, they better have the right fucking opinion about modern art. So the CIA forces this into the mainstream, and it's everywhere in all the media all the time, and everybody sees.
Jesus Christ. Holy. how it went from one thing to another. Callie, thank you so much for the resub. I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And this is like the peer pressure effect, right? You see this in all the magazines, all the art critics love it. Eventually you're like, shit, am I the only person that thinks this is dumb? If everybody else likes it, I don't want to be the only uncultured swine that looks at something that I think my 3-year-old can do and like doesn't understand the deeper meaning. So I'm just gonna lie and pretend and say that I like it too, just so I'm part of the cool kid group. So I'm deep and thoughtful and sophisticated. So people started to like modern art. It's like candy corn, okay? I know that candy corn tastes like shit. I've never met a single person in my entire life that actually liked candy corn.
Confession time, chat. I've never tasted candy corn. I've only ever seen it in like every single movie and animation and thing from like the US stuff, but I've never had it. And it's honestly effective because I've seen it and I would like try it out. If I saw it in real life, I'd be like, I want to try it out. Just because. Now, even as a kid, no, we don't have that here. That's not a thing. We don't even celebrate Halloween here.
Yet, somehow, some way, every October, it's absolutely everywhere. It's got the best marketing on the planet for no apparent reason. I don't even know what company makes candy corn, yet it's everywhere all the time for the entire month of October. Fuck, candy corn's gotta be a psyop too. It's gotta be like nuclear waste.
Yeah, we don't have candy corn here. We don't like it's a thing that's related to movies and like episodes of cartoons with Halloween, right? Hence why it's available in October. We don't have that here. Like, no.
That's how the government gets rid of it.
I have no idea. But anyway, sorry, I'm getting.
Now, I can't prove that candy corn is a psyop.
I like that
yet. I'm
edit.
gonna look into it. I'm upset about this now. But we do know for a fact that modern art was a psyop, or at least its rise to fame was a psyop.
They don't have October in Romania. No, we don't have October. It just straight up doesn't exist. Oh, no, silly. We just don't celebrate Halloween. Like, October for us is just October. There's no spooky month. We don't have the marketing for, ooh, spooky month is coming. Put up all the weird spooky skeletons and decorations. We don't have that.
And we know this because in 1966, the New York Times had found out that the CIA helped make the CCF, and they ran it as a story. Now, they only knew about the CCF. They didn't know about all the other extra stuff that they did in the art community with the founding of all these different shell art foundations. That didn't come out until the 1990s. But it did get the ball rolling for a bunch of conspiracies because now the art community is super skeptical of abstract expressionism. Now, it just didn't make sense from their point of view. You know, usually,
Understandable.
speaking, it's almost common knowledge that most artists don't get super famous until after they die. Yet somehow all the major abstract expressionists, Jackson Pollock, de Kooning, Rothko, these guys were all superstars during their lifetime. They had multiple page spreads in magazines. They were making tons of money. They were rich. They were famous. It just made zero sense, historically speaking. Because
yeah, how dare you want to be alive and make a living as an artist? How dare you? What kind of logic was that, man? It's like, oh, it doesn't make sense. They're still alive and famous. Crazy.
Because of this, a lot of people in the art community thought for sure the government had to be behind it. In 1974, famous art critic Max Kuzlov said that it was, quote, a benevolent form of propaganda. And here's the kicker with this. We don't know to what degree the artists that benefited the most from this actually knew that they were being used by the CIA, because as far as they probably knew, they just received a bunch of money from some art foundation owned by some rich guy. They didn't know that that rich guy was actually working with the CIA. On the flip side of that, maybe they did know the entire time, and some people cite the fact that Jackson Pollock later in his life denounced communism as evidence of that. However, in my personal opinion, I don't really buy it. I think these guys had no clue, and I think that Jackson Pollock denounced communism later in life because he got famous and rich as fuck. I mean, the dude was selling paintings for $8,000, which if you adjust for inflation is like 95 grand, okay? He had a lot.
Like, honestly makes sense. Like, at one point he's just like, well, I'm rich and I want to keep it. So, like, yay, capitalism, let's go. It would make sense for that dude to do that.
Of money, and let's just call a spade a spade. Every young college kid wants to share the wealth, and then they get a little bit older and it becomes their wealth that needs to get shared, and then their opinions change. Now, that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. However, I hope I'm right for a couple of reasons. One, I personally just find it funny that the US government was using unwitting communist sympathizers to fight against communism by showing off all the freedoms they have because they didn't live under communism. To me, That's art. And B, and also another reason that I think I'm correct, is that I
Okay.
think the CIA knew that this art couldn't be propaganda. I mean, they were going to use it as propaganda, and they knew that, but it was very important with the creation of the art that the artist had no idea that it was being used for propaganda. It needed to be a true, authentic expression of that person, because that's what made this art so effective, is that we were showing off freedom, the freedom of self-expression. That's what abstract expressionism is all about.
Oh my god. I get it.
So if you're not picking up what I'm
Oh my god. I don't get it.
What I'm trying to tell you is that
Oh
when
my
most
God.
people think of the Cold War, they think of an arms race between America and the Soviet Union. Who can have the most nukes? Who can have the most fighter jets? Who can come up with the best, most creative, efficient way to kill the enemy? But at the end of the day, that was a moot point from the get-go, because there was always mutually assured destruction between America and the USSR should it devolve to a hot conflict. And what actually won the Cold War was the culture war. Because when it came time for the USSR to fall in 1991, they didn't want to drag America down with them, because everybody in the Soviet Union was wearing blue jeans, drinking Pepsi, listening to Metallica, and Gorbachev himself was doing fucking Pizza Hut commercials.
Это Горбачев.
I did not know about this part.
They didn't want to destroy America because they wanted to be like America, or at the very least, they recognized the fact that the world was a better place with America in it. The Cold War wasn't won by having the most nuclear warheads. It wasn't won by putting a man on the moon first. It was won with blue jeans, junk food, music, and art. And to quote JFK, art is not a form of propaganda. It is a form of truth. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the
Interesting
channel is to
video.
go buy some merch over the Fat
Honestly, like, it's very interesting to hear his perspective and opinion on things, and the fact that, like, cultural war, right? At the same time, you have to consider, like, think about what that cultural war ends up doing now, but compared to back then, and what's happening now with things, and how people are very afraid, or like forgetting or erasing culture. Yeah, US definitely won the culture war, for sure. Very fascinating though to hear that Metallica also had a concert. I did not know they had a concert there. I was like, really? To be fair, I was not born, so I didn't really look into Metallica and where they went before. I did go to a Metallica concert myself when they were here, but let's be real. And yes, I do know a lot of people wouldn't. But hey, we all know what kind of music I like listening to.
Electrician.com. Quack bang out. Like a week ago, I would have done nothing but made fun of modern art. Now look at me. Look at this. It's beautiful. I love it. It speaks to me.
I don't know if I covered it up, but like here, it's just fuck communism. Speaks to him.
I like what it has to say.
Oh, it might speak to him, but I swear I still do not understand it. It's like, yeah. Oh.